this was incompetence at a spectacular level. I'm looking forward to working with Donald Trump where I can, but he prides himself on art of the deal. There was days and days, and I believe my Senate Republican friends who are all ready for the deal, I think his team was told. But then to pull the rug out from under the feet of the speaker, I mean, is this a preview of what's going to happen over the next 4 years? And with all due respect to your former guest, when I was coming back on, the debt ceiling is, we've already rung up those bills, and it's basically saying, are you going to pay your credit card bill on things you've already expended? So I am concerned. I'm concerned about if we go through this shutdown, the signal it sends to our adversaries around the world. I'm concerned about if, a lot of Bloomberg viewers, I'm sure, going to climb on an airplane in the next few days to go visit family. You got a shutdown with TSA and air traffic controllers not getting paid. This is crazy. And, chopping it up into 3 bits. And it again, as we all know, the idea that some of these extreme members on the House Republican side who are never going to vote for anything, whether it's debt ceiling or a continuing resolution, why they are dictating some of the terms, as a business guy, kind of makes me scratch our head. Last point just is the Senate Republicans, the Senate Democrats, the House Democrats, we were all on the same page. This was a bipartisan agreement, and it does bode poorly for what's coming next.
Well, of course, that bipartisan agreement is no longer on the table. So what messaging have you gotten from your leadership, from Chuck Schumer, as to what the Democrats in the Senate will be willing to vote for here? What is the very lowest bar that you're willing to jump over to avert a shutdown?
If anybody can predict what the House Republicans can pass, particularly if they're going to just try to pass it with their own members, they can't. I mean, the reality is, as people know, there are a whole group of members that will never vote for a continuing resolution. So the notion that you can do this without working with the Democrats is, the math doesn't add up. So remember the Pottery Barn expression, if you break it, you own it. Well, these guys broke it. So let's see what will come out of this afternoon. But to put in jeopardy all of these families right in the holidays who depend upon these paychecks, or the businesses that are adjacent around tourism events that will never get recouped, it is just plain cruel.
Sir, I'd like to ask you as well how you see this being foreboding, or what you think this might signal as to the battle still ahead, specifically in 2025, when there will be expirations of tax cuts that have actually led to more money in the pockets of some of these very same people you are referring to who could be hurt by a shutdown. Given how difficult this funding battle has proven to be, does that suggest to you that Democrats will have to step in to extend those 2017 tax cuts? So it's your votes that will ultimately be required for that to happen.
Let's put it like this. There has, over the last year, I'm not sure there was a single bill that came out of the House that didn't have to have Democrats' help. And listen, I'm part of every bipartisan gang that's taken place. Anything that's happened over the last couple of years in terms of infrastructure or the CHIPS bill, Electoral Count Act, there were a bipartisan group of us that put that together. I think, frankly, that ends up with better legislation, and both parties have to own the good and the bad. And I think, again, with the margin, 1 or 2 the first couple of months in the House, and some people who will find an excuse to vote against anything, I think if they try to do this in a bipartisan way, I want America to stay competitive. I want us to have the best business climate in the world. But the signal this sends, if we go into this shutdown, it's I thought we've all seen this movie many times before, and there may be that final chapter where there's a way out. But this is not a way to govern the greatest country, the most powerful country in the world, and it does make me worried about next year. And again, I say this with somebody who I disagree with President-elect Trump on a number of things, but I'm more than happy to work with him. I probably voted for more of his cabinet nominees last time, and I will vote for many of them this time. So I'm not here to kind of just throw stones at the other side, but gosh, how do you negotiate in good faith with somebody going forward, particularly when I believe that at least the Trump team was aware of what the speaker was doing, if after a handshake, somebody reneges at the 11th hour.
Well, sir, finally, is it really only Donald Trump that will have to be worked with, negotiated with, or do we have to have Elon Musk's name on this list as well as to whose sign-off is going to be required to get any real legislating done?
I have huge respect for Elon Musk's business acumen, but the idea that he is now, outside of his lanes, and I've worked with Elon Musk and want to work with him going forward. I think there's a lot of efficiency that we can bring to the government. But the idea that he's suddenly calling the plays for how the government is going to be funded or not, it'd be like putting me in as the coach for the Washington Commanders. The team would lose and a lot of people would get hurt. So I think we all need to acknowledge we all bring different skill sets to the table, and inefficiency. Again, I was a big supporter of Elon Musk a decade ago as he was getting SpaceX up and operating, breaking up the monopolies that controlled that arena. But I do hope that he understands the power he has. He's got more followers on Twitter than Donald Trump. And candidly, and don't take my word, talk to any Republican, what he was tweeting on whatever day it was when the deal came out, half of the tweets were just factually not true.